Hello and welcome to In Summary. Today we'll be tackling a deeply troubling situation in Nigeria, the ongoing violence against Christian communities. From attacks on churches to mass killings and kidnappings, many believe this is one of the world's most severe religious violence crises. We'll walk through how we got here, why this matters, what's happening now, and discuss some of the numbers. We'll also talk through what the international community is doing or not doing. Let's jump right in. To begin, Nigeria is a very diverse country and the security network is extremely complex. But certain threads will help us explain the current violence that's affecting Christian communities. The country is largely split between a majority Muslim north and a majority Christian south, although there are intermingling and overlaps between the north and the south. Over recent decades, extremist groups like Boko Haram have increased in the northeast. Their presence has escalated in the Middle Belt region. And this particular region is the zone between the north and the south, where competition for land, resources and identity is fierce. According to some statistics, Nigeria is one of the most dangerous places for Christians in terms of fatalities. So while the violence isn't simply about Muslims versus Christians, faith is a major factor in these attacks. According to some stats, over 7,000 Christians have been killed in the first part of 2025. Organisations are describing what's happening in Nigeria as a silent genocide. Many Christian churches are being targeted. Some reports say around 1,200 churches are destroyed annually in Nigeria. But, and this is important, some reports are suggesting the violence isn't exclusive to Christian communities. They argue that the drivers include land conflict and extremism, and that the whole thing isn't exclusive to religion. So we have very concerning numbers and patterns, but also contested interpretations of the motivations behind the violence. Many Christians live in communities with weak security. In the Middle Belt, especially, conflict between largely Muslim Fulani herders and largely Christian farming communities over land, water and grazing rights have turned deadly. Attackers often target Christian villages. Many attacks go unpunished. The state's capacity to protect vulnerable communities is limited, and Christian advocacy groups argue that the government has failed to respond robustly. In some northern states, under Sharia law, Christians are socially and legally marginalised, making them more vulnerable. Putting these together, Christian communities face a perfect storm of insurgency, local conflict, weak protection, and religious identity. Thousands of lives have been lost, churches destroyed, and communities displaced. Faith communities often perform vital social functions such as schools and health, so the damage is widespread. And when one faith community is systematically targeted, it raises fundamental questions about religious freedom, state protection, and minority rights. Nigeria is a country with one of the largest populations in Africa, and it borders many states and regions already vulnerable to instability. If the violence continues, a spillover into these regions is possible. The portrayal of the violence has implications for how foreign governments respond. For instance, President Donald Trump recently placed Nigeria on a list of countries of particular concern. The Nigerian government has rejected the idea that there's a systemic Christian genocide. It maintains that people are being targeted regardless of their faith, and that it's committed to protecting its civilians. However, many are saying the government's actions are insufficient. They're pointing at the high numbers of attacks, little justice for victims, and little and minimal deterrence for perpetrators. International communities have placed Nigeria at the top of their world watch list. And some countries are putting even more pressure on Nigeria. Despite all of this, major challenges remain. Access to remote rural communities is hard, many attacks go unreported, root causes are difficult to resolve, and the narrative remains contested. The takeaway is there is a response, but critics argue it's not enough for the scale of the violence. So what happens next moving forward, and how can we engage? If the violence continues unchecked, there is the risk of further displacement. Conversely, if meaningful steps are taken, such as improving security in rural Christian communities, holding perpetrators accountable, addressing herder-farmer conflicts, and tackling extremist ideology, then it may be possible to begin turning things around. To sum up, Christian communities in Nigeria are facing very grave threats, from extremist insurgency, land-based conflict, and complex governance failures. While the precise motivations and victims vary, the human cost is immense. This is not just a local problem, it has national and international implications for religious freedom, human rights, and security. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.